GOP lawmakers set January 3rd for FBI, DOJ to comply with subpoena on phony Trump dossier by Jim Hoft for thegatewaypundit.com. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes is tired of waiting for deep state to turn over subpoena documents. Nunes and GOP lawmakers on the Intel Committee have given the Department of Justice and FBI until next week, Wednesday, to turn over requested documents on the phony Trump dossier. Nunes slammed the deep state last week for failing to produce the documents as required by law back in August. Unfortunately, DOJ FBI's intransigence with respect to the August 24th subpoenas is part of a broader pattern of behavior that can no longer be tolerated as a result of the numerous delays and discrepancies that have hampered the progress of subpoena compliance. The committee no longer credits the representations made by DOJ and or the FBI regarding these matters. Representative Ron DeSantis joined Trish Regan on Sunday Morning Futures to discuss the deep state resistance with congressional investigators. Let's just take a quick listen.
Suggesting the FBI and Justice Department should be investigating themselves and demanding all records by this Wednesday. Joining me right now is Florida Republican Congressman Ron DeSantis, a member of the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees. Happy New Year's Eve. So good to see you, Congressman. Let me ask you about this letter here from Representative Nunes. Putting that deadline on things, how does that change the equation right now? Will they meet it?
Well, I think the letter was great, and I applaud Chairman Nunes for doing that. I think that deadline needs to be enforceable. Trish, we've been doing this for months and months, asking very simple questions about the genesis of this investigation, about how the dossier came into the FBI's possession, whether the FBI paid for the dossier, whether they used it to get surveillance on any Trump associates. And those are all very easy questions to actually answer. And yet we've been met with resistance after resistance after resistance. So I think they have until next week to do it. And then if not, I think the House is going to have to move on to different measures in order to force compliance.
Congressman, what do you think that resistance is about?
It's hard to tell. I mean, you have a lot of people in there who've been a part of the bureaucracy for a long time. I mean, to me, the questions are very easy to answer. If you said, of course we didn't use the dossier, then you would just say that. And I think the reason is probably that some of the answers to these questions are going to call further into question the behavior of some of the people involved at the very highest levels of both the Clinton and Russia investigations, people like Peter Strzok. So we need answers to those questions, and I think what they're doing by resisting, but then actually leaking certain facts to the media. There was just an article in the New York Times yesterday where they're leaking about this Papadopoulos, which actually conflicts with previous stories and is not anything that anyone's been able to say under oath on the record to us. You look at that and say, okay, you're not willing to answer Congress's questions under oath, but you'll leak things to the media? That is not the way this is supposed to work.
Well, you think about, frankly, who was running the FBI, and James Comey, sort of leaker-in-chief, if you would, himself. I still remember being absolutely stunned during his testimony when he admitted that he was the one who actually leaked things to his friend at Columbia, who could then in turn leak it to the New York Times. I mean, shocking to me, because it tells you, perhaps, Congressman, a little bit about the culture there. And I guess one of the things I'm amazed by is, if they're so into leaking, how come we haven't heard more about this so-called collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians? Why haven't they been able to find anything, to pinpoint anything to leak to the media?
Oh yeah, I mean, if there was any evidence of collusion, that would have been leaked months and months ago. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. But it's very, very frustrating to see a lot of times they will refuse to answer Congress's questions because they'll say, well, you know, it's classified, we're not sure that we can do it in this setting, but then they'll leak classified information to the media. So it's just very, very frustrating process. But you're exactly right. I think there has not been evidence of collusion, and one of the kind of data points that best supports that is, I think if there was evidence of that, I think the press would have gotten it by now.
All right, so let's go.
Absolutely, that is true. That is true. They make up stories why we can't release that. You know, it's classified. They're just giving the runaround. But now, come January 3rd, they're going to have to answer. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.